Good evening, campers, dreamers, and babysitters. And today we got a very special surprise. Yes, we're talking about the Predator Badlands trailer number 2. So we get a little bit more this time around, of course. This is just standard practice with most trailers. And this one I can say I've been very excited for, got even more excited for it after what the awesome Killer of Killers turned out to be, and just really where this teed the franchise up. That's the last time you probably heard us talk about Predator in a more formal sense, was that review. So I'll make sure to tag that in the video here because, yeah, now that we're here and we're getting to see a little bit more of Badlands, I got to say, I'm liking what I'm seeing. Luke, how are you feeling?
I'm right there with you. I'm not a hard sell when it comes to the Predator franchise, even though we had to deal with Shane Black's The Predator, which was an absolute atrocity. But other than that, over the past couple of years, we've been eating pretty good. With Prey got us really back on track. Killer of Killers was a welcome surprise for me. I wasn't really sure how that one was going to turn out being animated, but I had a lot of fun with it. Looks like we do have a clear direction as to where we're going with the franchise and what kind of stories we want to tell. And I know there was kind of a mixed audience between how the Predator Badlands was looking when they kind of released that teaser and the design of the Yautja in that. So, for me, I was on the positive side of that one. I didn't really have a problem. I know that there's different tribes, there's different kinds of Yautja out there. So, I was okay with the actual design of it. Maybe a little heavy on the CGI, but I figured that's to be expected in certain aspects of it. But I didn't think it was going to be distracting. So once we finally got this actual trailer, not being a teaser, I'm all on board.
Yeah, I mean, I was very happy with what I saw here. I definitely understand some of the rumblings that I've seen online. We had a little bit of a minor discussion beforehand about one aspect of the trailer that could be a bit concerning. Could be something, if not handled correctly. I don't think it will necessarily work with a lot of people, but I have faith and confidence that Dan Trachtenberg knows how to balance said subject. But before we get into that, let's just do a quick little smattering, a little highlight reel here of just some of the moments that really stuck out for me. I think one of the big things that I really enjoyed about this trailer was just getting to explore a bit more of this world, understanding what kind of a planet we're on. Because for a lot of people in their theory videos and everything, we got to see some wide shots, some landscapes. But when it came to just all the different biomes, I was curious to see like how is this going to translate once we're actually on screen? How much time are we going to spend in each of these biomes? And it looks like there's basically a huge set piece for each and every one. And I thought that was a really neat addition to dive into in this trailer.
I'm excited for that aspect of this. We both have a love for predators and being on that gaming preserve and seeing different kinds of species of plants and really getting immersed in that experience. I think Badlands is going to have that same just from what we've seen in the trailer here. I love the different kinds of plant life that we're seeing. A lot of different species of predators out there that uh, that our Yautja is going to be taking on, which I love these. We're not just dealing with basic things; they look like very complex kind of species that we're going to be battling. So I think I'm I'm ready for some heavy action, a lot of heavy gore as well, and I think they're really going to deliver on that. I just love those different things that we're seeing. It has a very specific flavor. When Predator Badlands was announced and we were getting the tidbits of the story, this is what I was hoping for. And I think, in this 2-minute trailer, they're absolutely delivering it. I mean, yeah, you can make anything look great in a trailer, but it looks like they have a great handle on what we're going to be seeing and how diverse the story is going to be.
Absolutely. And, we have in the cast here, we only have two people with this. So we have the gentleman who's playing Deck, which I believe is the Predator in this, and then Thea by Elle Fanning. And I was so happy to see an element that, I can tell one thing from Dan Trachtenberg here, and this will kind of go into a little bit of our criticism. It'll be a nice way to glide into it. But there is a piece to this that I like, and I think that he's going to be able to pull it off because, Dan Trachtenberg talks about how video games like God of War inspired him for Prey, with especially like the shield and how that functions in the game versus how it functions in Prey. I can really see that throughout a lot of his work, especially how he likes to, kind of have these interesting off the wall kind of characters. Cause like if you go back to like 10 Cloverfield Lane, we all got to remember this is where this guy started. That's a total character piece. And like, oh my God, like all the characters in there are so memorable. I love all of them. They're so well realized and so fleshed out that I think from this 2-minute trailer, the scene that's really throwing people off and why I go back on this whole diatribe is when the predator goes to shoot this winged creature out of the sky, and then Elle Fanning's, Wayland Utani robot, synth, whatever we call these things, I forget. There's so many names for them.
I think there might not, is her name Thea? Maybe
Yeah,
I
no,
don't
I
know
was
the.
talking about what do they call them in this universe again?
Oh, I'm not sure if they have do they have a specific name for them? Have they mentioned?
Androids, droids, you
Yeah,
know what I mean? It's yeah, it is what it is. You guys get it. But point is when she kind of lifts back up and smiles, I think that's where am I right in saying that's kind of where some of the
yeah,
unsettling moments lied? Okay. I look at her character as a character who in recent video game things has become kind of something that we've seen a few times, but you get like a little follower, a little person, and I love the aspect of him stringing her on his back like a backpack and having her kind of be almost like his Cortana to his Master Chief if you've ever played Halo, where it's like she is this kind of well-informed, basically at this point semi-useless because she doesn't have legs or half her body, but just more or less supercomputer that he gets to kind of use and manipulate her information. And she seems very detached from everything. She's got this jovial kind of corporate almost like face and things she's putting on, but she does seem very much like, "Hey, you're on a hunt. Good luck. Have a good one. See you later," kind of thing. And I don't know, I trust Dan Trachtenberg's going to make this work.
yeah, and that was something that caught me off guard. I guess the element of the humor that we do get, I thought was a little odd. It did catch me off guard when I had first watched the trailer, and I really focused in on it on my second viewing of the trailer. But I don't really know what to expect. I know that Dan Trachtenberg, I'm not sure if you read that article. I did pull it up as you were talking because he does reference. This was an article on Bloody Disgusting a couple weeks ago where he had referenced Shadow of Colossus. I haven't played that game, so I
Yeah.
don't know
No,
exactly what he's.
that's a very accurate description there. Yeah.
And that's kind of what he was alluding to with that Thea character there. So I unfortunately I don't know what that means because I don't play that game, so I don't know what the actual reference there is. I thought maybe that would mean something to you.
That's why
Um,
I jumped around to a couple different franchises, trying to give you some kind of a visual reference. I think the best, you know what? Blade Runner. Ryan Gosling's girlfriend, Ana de Armas?
yes.
That.
Okay.
She is like basically just a computer that, she has a physical form here that is going to be able to kind of, work out situations with him. But for the most part, her knowledge and her ability to, kind of help guide him and help him survive, I assume, is going to be the value factor for this predator and why he's going to keep her around.
Yeah, and I think using that comedy route is the easiest in, I think, in terms of building some sort of relationship with the audience, because we're not going to have probably a deep rooted backstory, at least initially, with Elle Fanning's character. So I figure we're going to have some heavy roots in comedy. It's probably just going to be the nature of the beast. I hope I'm not spoiling this for anyone there. It's been an article that's been out there that Elle Fanning's supposed to be playing two characters in this.
Yes.
I don't know exactly what that means either.
I think we see two versions of her
Just
in
two
this
different
trailer.
androids. Okay.
Well, I
One,
don't think I wonder if she's another android or if I mean, they model them off of people. What if she's somebody significant
you
considering it's
know,
Wayland,
but and I had thought that, but in that exact article where he references Shadow of Colossus, he decides to go back to I wanted to make a Predator film with no human beings in it. So
Okay. All right,
so
fair.
I'm assuming even the thing because we do see a crew of I don't know, it looks like they're an army or
Yeah,
whatever.
I wanted to talk about that for sure.
I'm assuming everything in here, unless he's kind of just um trying to differ our expectations, not really make us assume that we're going to be seeing any human beings, that everything in this is going to be an android. He's saying everything in here is going to be an android. Well, not directly, but saying that we're not going to have any human beings in this. So, because I had initially thought that as well, maybe we'll see a human character, but then I went back to that article and was like, okay, so I guess they're all going to be androids, at least from what he's saying right now. So I'm curious to see if it's going to be. I know in the trailer we have Elle Fanning's character that's halfsies in one element, so I don't know if maybe it gets damaged and we move on to another one. I'm curious to see what that's going to entail. But I like that aspect of it. I figured we weren't going to have just a pure Yautja driven story. We were going to have some sort of human element into it for audiences to kind of resonate with another character in there. And plus, you're going to need that dynamic to really start feeling when we move that story forward. So, right now I'm feeling it. I think it could be a really interesting dynamic. I'm not too sold on the comedy, but I think once we get in there and after a few scenes, I think it'll warm up to me nicely.
Yeah, and the shot that I'm talking about, I do see a similar scarring on her chin here that she has when she's talking to our Yautja. But in this, she looks to almost have like a purple streak in her hair. And I don't know if that's some kind of liquid because it also seems to be on her jacket. So that's the only thing that threw me off, is maybe this is a different version, a different android. Maybe it has some kind of an indicator of some sort. But I don't know. I really like this element. I don't want to spend the rest of the video talking about it, but it is something that I'm willing to defend because it's Dan Trachtenberg and because it's somebody that I think has referenced and been one of, honestly, the best directors in recent memory to really pull aspects from recent video games that are really becoming films in and of themselves, and integrate those in here and kind of bring a modern touch without having to leave any of the origins and any of like the ritualistic kind of primitive nature of the Predator behind. One thing I do want to touch on, because it has been a point of contention, we didn't really get to talk about it, was, you mentioned the Badlands trailer, the first one. People weren't impressed with the look of the Yautja. We get to see him a lot more here. And you know what I think was really smart about this is that they chose very specific shots of showing off the practical effects. Because in that one close up where we get to really hold on him for a second, that, other than the eyes and probably some touch ups, that's practical. That has to be. There's no way that's not practical.
Yeah, and I think people are going to be surprised. And I think a lot of people were quick. I don't want to say a lot, but it seemed to be a little bit negative when that teaser had come out in terms of what the design was and just how this design matched up to the classic Predators that we've seen throughout the franchise. And for me, I didn't really have a big bone to pick with that. I don't think at all. It's like it's a different design. I think once we get in there again after a few scenes, I think people are going to warm up to it, even if you do have a bit of a problem with it, because you're going to be able to see this thing on full display. When you have those stills, and I think that's what people focused in on. Maybe those were touched up, I don't know, but where everyone's like, oh, it's heavy CGI. The franchise is known to really have these really nice practical effects for a lot of these Yautjas, and that's the most impressive feat I think throughout this entire franchise. And I don't think Badlands is going to be any different. I think we're going to walk out of there saying, wow, this one was an interesting species. It was a way different take. I like the route that they're going with it. I like this being a smaller version than what we're used to seeing, because it poses different problems. It poses a different narrative and things, obstacles that we're going to be getting. So I really enjoy that aspect of it. I don't really have a problem with it. I like that the hairstyle is tied back a little bit. I know some people have issues with that as well, but I think it's just kind of being a little bit picky. It's like let's see how this one plays out, and I think you could be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, they put braids on Ewan McGregor and all kinds of wacky hairstyles on all those guys in the prequels, and the people still love those now, I guess. So yeah, it's like they can get away with it. The hair does not bother me at all. I agree. I think that the beauty of this is that we're not in a world anymore where Predator is back to, okay, we're going to do this and then we're going to do the crossover. and then we're going to do one that's a solo because that didn't really work. And then people were just okay with that one. Okay, let's hold off for a while. Okay, let's bring it back with one of the original creatives. It's like they've been just kind of trying to soft reboot and restart for so long. To have some progression feels great, and it's about damn time that we see some different kinds of predators. Like like this is definitely they really do establish that this is this predator's first hunt, and he gets dropped onto. I think that she's messing with him, or at least this is where we're gonna really lean in, and the audience is gonna know that he's been dropped off on this planet. And if he proves himself, I think it's gonna save his life, because there's a part in this trailer, we saw a little bit of this in the teaser, where this big horned guy, this big horned mask wearing predator of sorts, this kind of like almost, what would you call him, like an alpha predator of sorts, Luke?
Yeah,
He looks,
maybe an elder. I'm not sure exactly if
it's yeah,
that's the
I
route. I'm curious to see what everything's going to entail in this because, if you collect NECA figures, some do look familiar. So I'm
there are
curious.
aspects of some
Yeah,
that are
so
definitely there.
I'm curious if they're just taking those or these are actually going to be some familiar characters that we've seen that never on screen, but when we dive into video games, when we dive into comic books, they're certainly notable to people who are really deep rooted into the Predator franchise.
But yeah, I bring up this shot here just to inform the audience of what we're going to discuss at this point. Is the this shot shows what I clearly indicate as another species or another predator. It's not our predator that we see here. It's not Doc or whatever his name is. This is clearly, I think, a relative of sorts, maybe someone of the same clan, but he definitely looks a lot beefier and bulkier. You can see here. And it leads me to believe that this is kind of going to be the inciting incident that gets Doc pushed onto this planet. It looks like whoever this antlered, horned character is, this alpha, whatever he subscribes to in the Predator lore and universe, I assume he kills everybody and leaves this unblooded young predator to go prove himself before he can kill him, I guess, if he has honor. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what the story that's going to unfold because I believe we're going to get a lot more than what's being told in terms of seeing other predators on whatever remote planet we're on and how the narrative is going to unfold. I'm excited to see what they're going to do because the more predators, the better. So them making a little cameo in here, it got me excited when we saw the teaser and we saw the back of one of the predators and getting even more footage now saying, what exactly is going on here? Is there a relation there? Because they clearly do look like Deck and in that one predator look like the same species in some sort. So,
Yeah.
and Deck is kind of the runt, so to speak. So I'm curious to see what that's going to lead to. And as I was thinking, it's like Elle Fanning's character could be that second character could be another android tied to a different predator or something. I don't know in terms of a crossover. So I don't know if that's the route we're going to go. It does open up a lot of questions as to what exactly is going on in this remote planet, which has not even been named. So is it a gaming preserve or where we go? Where's this actually taking place? So I'm excited to see where the storytelling is. You talk about Dan Trachtenberg and how we've had almost so many soft reboots with the franchise, and it's been because narratively they've never hit with the audience. But now it feels like, especially after Killer of Killers and what we get toward the end of that film, where we have a clear narrative, we have a clear direction of what we want to do with this franchise and really realize the potential of it. And Badlands feels like another installment where we're getting a diverse story. We're going to be expanding the lore. We're bringing the things that we've seen in the comics, things that we've seen in video games. We're bringing that onto screen for a bigger audience to really say, hey, this franchise can be lucrative, just like a lot of the other big budgeted films that we do see, because there is so much expansive lore here. We just got to get that creative back on track and really give the audience what they deserve.
Yeah, and one piece I do want to touch on, I don't want to get beat up too hard by the really, really hardcore Predator fans. I consider myself a hardcore Predator fan, but I know there are bigger nerds than I who would love to correct me in the comments when I say this. But I saw a bunch of comments about how this Predator, our main guy, Doc, has a broken tusk. Clearly, in a few shots, you see it. And I know there's a very famous predator, Broken Tusk, in the comics. So some people speculate maybe this is kind of like a pseudo, kind of almost akin to a Rise or Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, where we hear about this infamous character or this character that's only been in lore or in comics, just like with Planet of the Apes, and we really see a full, like, brought to screen version of that. Of course, they had Caesar in the old films as well, but this was like the fully mythical realized version that they always talked about in the old movies. So could we be seeing the rise of this specific Yautja, or one that's at least modeled after Broken Tusk, and then kind of seeing him kind of become an alpha over time and everything? And that would be really cool, especially like if they did time jumps like the Dawn and Rise of the Planet of the Apes films.
I would be so excited just because there's so many stories out there with really diverse Youches that we haven't seen on screen because there's only been in the realm of the lore of Predator, there's only been a handful of actual cinematic films out there, so we haven't really had time to cover that expansive lore. So there's so much to really dive into. I'm hoping we get some of those notable characters that we've seen, NECA figures, comics, things like that. We get to see them on screen. I'd love if this is kind of like the laying the foundation of that character, and we're gonna go forward because clearly there's a plan to keep a lot of these characters around, depending on if we move toward Alien versus Predator or just another installment, Badlands 2, whatever we want to do, since apparently we're getting Prey 2. So, whatever we're going to be getting, I'm excited for it. It really feels like we're getting that potential. Everything that we've always ranted on our keyboards for years upon years about why don't they do this and why don't they do that. It feels like Dan Trachtenberg is just a big fan, and
It
we're
is. He is. Oh yeah.
we're going to be getting a lot of the stories that we've been eager to see unfold on screen. So Badlands, my gosh, November can't come soon enough. I'm excited for this one. Killer of Killers was a big win for me. So this one, I can't wait to see what they're going to produce because this trailer, it's got me pumped.
Yeah, and I mean the last note I want to leave on, and to kind of wrap it in with what I was saying about the Caesar thing, is I love the line, and I know some people had some things to say about this as well, about the Predator, kind of going back to the whole subtitles thing that we started in the Predator. I don't mind it as much, considering it's like, we have them saying like ugly motherfucker and stuff. Like, as long as he's not speaking English, or at least more than just a word or two here and there, I'm fine with this. I think that it's like, yes, if we're telling a story from the Predator's perspective, we need to know what he's thinking. We need to know what he is saying when he's talking to other predators, because we are in his head as the audience. We are through his eyes. That's how I choose to see it. So if any of you have a problem with that, go yourself. I'm just gonna bleep that, but like, it's just um
And
go ahead.
I'm with that as well. I always look at it, the Predator, Yautja, their society is light years ahead of us in terms of what they're able to achieve in intelligence wise. So to kind of just, hey, he's gonna roar, I'm like, well, I think they would do more than that. So I love seeing the subtitles that they have their own language that they're speaking. I think that really kind of does justice to the lore and really brings another element that we haven't really seen, other than them mimicking some English that we'd see a word or two and then just roaring half the time. So it's like I love that we're kind of getting that language on screen now, and we're going to be seeing those subtitles. That really opens up the storytelling that we could be seeing down the line.
Absolutely. And you brought up how you thought all of those people at the end were androids. I just froze a frame, and I can actually confirm that they all are the exact same actor. So yes, that is an android. So I think you're absolutely right. I think that Elle Fanning will be playing two androids for sure, and we'll definitely be getting it. Luke, how do you feel, last piece, because this is another big thing we've never seen in Predator lore before? I don't know what the fuck this thing is. How do you feel about Spiky Bones McGee here at the end? This big old monster with all these like horns and things. Like, oh my goodness, it looks downright Lovecraftian.
That's where my head went with it. I am, again, going back to what I said initially, opening up the video. I'm excited that we're on this remote island or remote planet, and it just like the gaming preserve in Predators, being able to see the diverse plant life. just the things that were on that remote planet as well. I think this one is delivering that aspect of whatever diverse species are on there. If it's tailor made for your first hunt or anything like that, just these big obstacles of different kinds of predator that are on those islands or on those remote planets, I love it, and I think the more we've only seen a little bit in this little trailer here. I can't wait to see what other obstacles Deck is going to have in store for him. Because, man, just by the little bit that we saw in here with some of these big monstrosities, I'm so
The
on board. I
power
love it.
loader at the end there, dude, like that's a big, and that's the other thing. I'll only touch on this because we are planning a big Predator video to get into the lore. We've been talking about it for a while. It was supposed to come out before Killer of Killers, but obviously, we have been waiting. But it will happen before Badlands for sure. But I need to mention it now because this is the very first time. I think if you want to, because I know they do it in the obviously the AVP movies, but those were never considered canon or canonical with any of the actual mainline films in either series. So this is the first time we've ever seen Wayland actually being pulled into the Predator universe. Like that's not a comic book, that's actually in a film. And I think that it's a nice garnish. I like the logos. I like the idea of this being a Wayland Yutani colony with a bunch of androids at the end. I even like the idea of having this souped up bigger power loader because one comment that Trachtenberg had made that I thought was a little bit of like a throwaway comment at first, but it really has stuck in my head. And after seeing this trailer, it's all I really think about. And it's the fact that he said that this film takes place like quite a ways after Killer of Killers. So I'm thinking that because they are obviously working towards an AVP, we've got to be kind of like, this is going to be whether we follow Doc or a different set of Predators each time. Whatever they do with this franchise, they've moved it up far enough in the timeline to where I think that we're going to run into the crew from Romulus in one of these films eventually, once they cross over.
I would love to see it. I was a big fan of Romulus. I like the characters involved there. So if that's where we're going to navigate toward, I'm totally on board. I can't wait to see both these universes collide. It's
In a
we
proper,
Yes,
very well thought out sense.
and it truly feels that way. Romulus, we were big fans of. Prey, Killer for Killers. It just is a fantastic time for these franchises to really be getting a creative direction we can really sink our teeth into and be excited to see where this is going to go. I remember when the AVP films had come out, and it was like, man, I hadn't seen anything from either franchise that was something that I adored in a very long time. So I was like, I was excited for those AVP films, but it was, the franchises had been kind of dead in the water for longer than just a couple of years, and it just felt like, okay, we're trying to get the franchises back on screen, and we're just going to throw this up here and have them fight as a big novelty, which can be fun at times, but I love that here we're going to be getting an actual clear narrative. We're trying to mesh these two universes in an organic way and build some story around it so that when they do clash, we may be seeing some of these familiar characters from installments that we actually enjoy. So I can't wait to see the collision course that both these franchises are on, because I think it's going to be oh so worth it by the time we get there.
I completely agree, and I cannot wait. So that's everything we're going to say about this trailer. It's a fantastic trailer. I cannot wait to see it on the big screen. I will be going to see Fantastic Four on Sunday with my friends and my dad and stuff. So I anticipate this will be one of the trailers. I will cross my fingers. And yeah, that's exciting. So November can't get here soon enough. We're going to try our best to maybe get some interviews with Dan Trachtenberg if we can. We've been wanting to, but that's a hard cookie to crack. But we got Danny and Michael Filippo this year, so
There we go.
that was a big one. So hopefully we can do it.
We'll see if we can snag a Yautja interview as well. We'll go to Yautja Prime.
Let's do it. Let's talk to some Predators. I'm all for it. It's really hot here, guys. It's really warm. Here you guys are really
very industrial here.
There he is. Yes. Love it. But alrighty, guys, that's gonna wrap us up here. So let us know what you thought of the Predator Badlands trailer. And until next time, I am Dylan Newell.
And I'm Luke Janesco.
And remember, stay scared.
Do the horse shit, gonna do it live. Cause Splattercast kick it every day they live.